Here is yet another unfortunate outcome for a murdered Uber driver whose relatives were simply seeking justice. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim with another ride-sharing video. Now, this is in regards to a story from last December of Yolanda Dillion, 54-year-old woman who was an Uber driver, moonlighting as an Uber driver to make ends meet. Her life was taken by Brandon Jacobs, a 30-year-old passenger, but there's a hell of a lot of heinous details to this. So as we rehash this, understand that listener discretion is advised. But this is in regards to the driver who told authorities where he just woke up and literally felt like killing someone. So in regards to this story, though, what's really unfortunate about it is it comes from an article titled "Suspect in Uber Driver's Murder Found Incompetent to Stand Trial." Now, this is down in New Orleans, and apparently the district court down there has ruled that this guy is crazy, fucking crazy. But listen to the way he gives details on what he did to Yolanda Dillion in regards to murdering her. And the last statement he makes, regardless of where you're driving, what market you're in, whether driving for Uber or Lyft, it should send chills down your spine because it relates to all of us drivers and something we are fighting for. Nevertheless, I'll give you the details. And like I said, his final statement is horrendously shocking. Now, Jacobs is charged with second-degree murder in the death of 54-year-old Yolanda Dillion. Now, she's a budget analyst for the New Orleans Police Department who worked as a rideshare driver for Uber to make ends meet. So she clearly was moonlighting as an Uber driver, probably driving part-time. Hell of a lot of us drive part-time. In fact, yours truly, I recommend that if you're doing rideshare, you should only drive part-time. I strongly believe it is indeed a side hustle and not a really good source of full-time income. Let me know in the comments. A hell of a lot of you drivers out there are engaging in ride sharing as your only source of income. I'm not a fan of that. I don't believe it pays enough. But even if it pays enough in your market, the problem is Uber and Lyft are constantly trying to find out how low can they keep you on the road for. So no matter what you make today, understand the ride-sharing companies are trying to find a way to lower it tomorrow. Having said that, I can't advise anybody to do this full time because you can't plan shit on it. You go out and, purchase an apartment or a home and you got your mortgage planned out where you're not expecting to continue to take a decrease in income as the years go on. So this is not a good job full time because you simply can't plan on the income. In regards to this case, though, listen to this. After researching knives online, Jacobs ordered an Uber to take him to a knife store in New Orleans, according to the sheriff's office. Jacobs bought 2 knives and then ordered another Uber driver to take him back to the travel lodge. Dillion accepted the fare. Now, Dillion is our unfortunate female victim, but notice what they stated there. He got online. He was at the Travel Lodge Hotel. He's sitting around at the hotel online looking up knives. So he's planning this shit from his hotel room. Calls an Uber to come pick him up. That driver took him to the knife store where he ultimately purchased a murder weapon. Talk about missing the boat, missing a bullet. That driver that took him to the knife store did not realize that person was literally one passenger away from committing a very heinous murder. So that passenger that took him to the knife store, who probably has no clue that she or he had this guy riding around in that vehicle. But there is a passenger out there that ushered this guy to the store to purchase the murder weapon. But he purchased the murder weapon. Now, after coming out of the knife store, according to the police, he requested the Uber. As it says, Dillion, the deceased, is the one that accepted the ride. Now, she showed up to the store, picked this guy up, And get this, she took him all the way to his destination. So he sat in the car like a typical passenger, supposedly kept his behavior within tow, whatever. Nice passenger. The moment she got to the hotel and it was his time to get out, according to the police, he lunged forward from the back seat and started stabbing her throughout the neck, stabbing her several times in the neck. After he stabbed her, he simply got out of the car and walked away. Apparently, there were bystanders that witnessed the whole event, ran to try to render aid to the Uber driver, and got her to a medical facility where she was pronounced dead at the hospital. But I mean, so clearly, folks saw, this lifeless body obviously bleeding heavily. There's a hell of a lot of mechanics in the neck. So somebody stabbing you about the neck, you're going to literally be just literally oozing blood all over the damn place. But here's something that is even more heinous, more awful. This guy, after stabbing the shit out of this woman, actually took out his cell phone, video recorded his work, and uploaded it to Facebook. So her death, or the last of her life oozing out of her body, was put on Facebook by this guy. So the fact that he's found incompetent, I don't know. To me, I'm going to give you the end part, which I told you it should make us all have chills going down our spine. But in my opinion, the fact that he can subscribe all of this shit, looking up knives online, and it don't sound incompetent to me. But anyhow, because they found him incompetent, a district court found him incompetent down there in New Orleans, he is now basically a product of the New Orleans Mental Hospital, or whatever the hell it's called. But here's the part I'm talking about. When asked why he selected Dillian as his victim, authorities said Jacob told detectives, "I didn't pick her. Uber picked her." Now, that should send chills down your damn spine, because both Uber and Lyft, particularly Uber, is fighting like hell, mainly in the states of Illinois and Minnesota, to prevent from being held accountable for the shit they send us to pick up. What makes this worse, according to police once again, Jacobs has a history of mental illness. So he has a documented history of being mentally ill. And they sent this guy to Dillian. So this is what they're fighting against, folks. Understand that. When they're fighting against being held accountable for who they link up, in other words, if they link up a driver that's on some bullshit or a passenger that's on some bullshit, Uber and Lyft are trying to continue fighting so that they cannot be held accountable. What's really jacked up about this is that none of this happens if Uber or Lyft do not link us up. If someone gets in your vehicle and takes your life, understand you would never have met that person if it was not for the ride-sharing company. So the ride-sharing company is trying to continue to stay where we have no accountability for who, or better yet, what happens to you in regards to the person we sent you to pick up. It's just total bullshit. Hopefully the states of Illinois and Minnesota, with their current legislation on the books, are victorious. And it should spread to other states as we go on. Probably will be places like Colorado, California, the state of Washington. These are the states that are really progressive in terms of getting us drivers a little bit of leeway from these companies. But both Minnesota and Illinois have actual laws on the books that are really close to passing that will make it so that Uber and Lyft are treated just like cab companies, bus companies, limousine companies, and things like that. In other words, if I send an axe murderer to you, I'm accountable for the guy that took your life. If this individual right here woke up, decided to start murdering people, if he worked for Amazon, FedEx, anywhere else, and they sent him to your house to deliver a package, you would be entitled to a huge settlement, or your family in this case, from Amazon, FedEx, or whatever the case may be, because they're held accountable for who they're sending out. In this case, this is a passenger, so Uber did not send him out, but nevertheless, if the guy has a huge history of mental illness, They should be responsible for doing a background check on passengers just like they do on us. It didn't say exactly what his history of mental illness is, but at the same time, it did state he has a history of mental illness. I mean, it's not just someone threatening to take a life. Maybe you have someone that gets in the car and their memory goes out. Maybe they have a history of bad, mental illnesses, mental issues, or dementia, not knowing where the hell they at, or they get scared or they get shell shocked. None of that shit should be in our car. Literally none of that. Because as drivers, we're out here trying to make a buck just ushering passengers around from point A to point B. We're not mental health counselors. We don't know what the hell to do. If somebody starts freaking out in our damn car, they don't know what address they're going to, or they don't know what the hell their name is. Drivers are not trained to handle that shit. So if someone has a history of mental illness, Uber and Lyft should be held accountable for making sure they never end up in our vehicle. But once again, I just wanted to run this by you because I would guess that probably some of you folks have had mentally ill passengers in your vehicle. Have you ever had somebody forget the damn address they were going to? Let me know in the comments what kind of crazy shit like this you've had. And what do you think? You think Uber, Lyft should be able to get off of the hook, escape accountability for putting what turns out to be a slasher in the vehicle of a driver that actually had a history of mental illness, and now he's been found incompetent in a court of law due to further mental illness? Uber doesn't have any accountability at this at all? Get the hell up out of here. It's your boy Tim. Subscribe to the damn channel. See you in the next video.